wrestling fans. Welcome to the Tapped In Indy Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Heath Mullican, joined as always by the man who runs all the podcast empire, Mr. Nick McDaniel. Nick, how are you this fine morning?
You could probably tell I'm still rustling around, like getting things situated. I mean, that was kind of a hectic morning for us. I mean, like we thought we were going to record this an hour ago, probably, and just everything just went crazy. And
Listen, fans, you have to get on that YouTube. You got to subscribe. You got to hit the thumb. You got to hit the bell. Because today we literally just recorded and uploaded breaking news about the WWE ID program. You need to go check that out on YouTube. We're not going to get into that. We recorded it, deserved its whole own episode. And now it went out to everybody. It was not a patron exclusive because this was breaking news. But patreon.com/tap.pod, you can become a member there. You can become a member at YouTube. And we've been doing a lot more behind the paywall stuff that other people aren't getting, including last week's MLB AAA, AA, single A discussion, which you got a little feedback from.
Yeah, look, I've talked to some promoters, wrestlers, and and I even I told you I was going to reach out to some talents and probably not name them, obviously, but just kind of say, hey, let's get your feedback into this. So it's kind of so it's like, I think the talent piece, when we discussed the who wants to work where and the whys, those things are coming to the factoring into those stacks. But I think what we, the ultimate one, like I want to reiterate, because there's a whole conversation about how we got there. But A's not an insult. That's just, hey, that's where you are right now. You're still a professional, independent wrestling promotion. But this is kind of where you tier. And I think, look, one of the things I pride myself on is self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, don't inflate yourself too much. Don't be too hard on yourself. Kind of know where you are. Know what you got to work on. And I think that's a huge plus. And I think more people in general, if they had that. Now, I'm not saying you can't strive to be better, want to be better, but at least kind of know where you are and what you got to do to get better to get where you want to go. So.
Absolutely. Before we get into the Indy talk today, let's talk a little AEW. First of all, man, big news. Chris Jericho is now the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. I did not have this on my bingo card, which shame on me, because this is kind of where Jericho's at in his career. I'm trying to think, what major title has he not held? I can think of like New Japan.
He was a New Japan champion, wasn't he? But he wasn't. I thought he was a champion of some kind. No. He was
the Intercontinental. Was he the Intercontinental champion?
I think
New
so.
Japan.
I think so. Yeah. He wasn't the top champion yet. That's what I was.
Right. What?
He was the first. You remember that when they brought the gold, but they brought it. He beat The Rock and Stone Cold in one night.
He was first undisputed champion.
Yeah.
Here's the question: what? I follow the product, and I'm not sure what the plan is for Ring of Honor, because on the one hand, I feel like it's supposed to be a second, like its own product. And they're still recording its own stuff. I don't know that they've done a Ring of Honor pay-per-view recently. But then there's Mark Briscoe wrestles on every AEW show, it seems like. Tag team matches, six-man matches, multi-man matches. It just feels like they don't really have a concrete plan. Let's put the belt on Jericho. That'll maybe bring eyeballs to the product. I don't know.
I think that when he won that title, I think a lot of people started to assume that means there is a plan now. There has to be, because, when they started, they put the AEW title on him, have a recognizable first champion. Like, we joked about it, and why can this rumored Shockwave show not be Ring of Honor instead of AEW? It could be AEW presents Ring of Honor.
Yes.
Shockwave or whatever. And then have him as your initial champion to try to draw because everybody knows Chris Jericho. You know, and I think that's what's that's why I thought it was newsworthy. Is I'm thinking, does this, and it's tappedoutpod@gmail.com, answer that question? Does this open the door to, that type of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, we'll just have to kind of stay tuned and see what we find out. Also wanted to discuss Dave Meltzer commenting that the ongoing angle with the Blackpool Combat Club is veering eerily close to the NWO angle. My response to that would be, if you've ever done any research on like movies or novels, there's basically 7 plots of stories. Like, there ain't nothing new under the sun. And like, eventually, yeah, you're going to have to recycle some of these ideas. So I personally don't have a problem with it. And here's the thing, Nick. A lot of these people watching AEW, they only have heard about the NWO. They didn't actually watch it. That was more than 25 years ago. So I don't think it matters. What do you think?
There's, like you said, there's really not too many original ideas. I think you can take the story. Now, you're going to have to do something to differentiate it. If you do that, like, dude, I don't have a problem. People, it's like, oh, it's been done to death. Okay, well, all the stories have. Let's just see, like, what's their twist on it, and if they do something cool on it. Like, here's my thing. I joked with somebody the other day. Oh, yeah, okay, it's NWO. Okay. But if Shane McMahon shows up, you're going to be interested.
Yep.
I mean, it's that simple, guys. It's really not much more complicated than that. As long as you make the story compelling, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, we've seen it. Well, Eric Bischoff jokes all the time. Boy meets girl, boy loses, gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets whatever. Like, it's okay. Well, it's a basic story, and how many, Hallmark lives on the concept, right? Of like the same movie over and over and over. They just it's at Thanksgiving, it's at Halloween, it's at Christmas, it's blah blah blah. But they do a little twist, a little bit just there, and women just keep watching. They don't care.
Listen. I'm a mark for the Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm just going to say it. I think it's because it's going to have a happy ending. Although now, I certainly don't want to chase this rabbit. I was watching one last year, and like, you're waiting for this couple to get together the whole movie, and they literally kiss, and then the movie was over. I was like, I kind of felt cheated. There wasn't really a whatever. I guess they lived happily ever after. You know what makes me live happily ever after? It's when we do the Indy Rewind and we talk about the shows from this weekend. And there were a lot. There were shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You hit several of them up. One that you hit up, unfortunately, I was not able to make it. Had to take some dignitaries to the airport. Anyway, Canton, Georgia. Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling versus Southern Honor Wrestling. Nick, what was the vibe like? What was the crowd like? Southern Honor normally just runs once a month. What did you think of this show?
The vibe was sure. It was a great vibe, and I'll tell you why. Because it was the complete show was for. It was all for charity. Gary Lamb made a point. He came out and said, "Listen, everything from the door." Everything from the concessions, everything's going to the Shriners Hospital. They're donating it all. All of the boys donated their time. I mean, it was all for charity. So, like, I don't know how you could be negative at all in that environment. It just it's a cool thing. Look, I have a personal connection to the Shriners Hospital with one of my grandsons, so I'm a big fan of that program as well. And then it was like, Gary's just like, hey, we want you to have a good time. Cheer the people you like, boo the people you don't like. Let's have a good time. And, and that's kind of what it was. It was a blend of a Southern Honor Turnbuckle show in the sense it was really, hey, we got some fun matches. We're going to do these. And Dylan peppered in a little bit of his story continuation from Southern Honor in there when he could, to kind of help progress some stories, which was kind of different. I didn't think that was going to happen. So it was kind of cool to see. But it was just top to bottom. How often do we say when Turnbuckle's involved? It was a fun show. It was a really fun show when we left. And believe it or not, folks, there were some really good matches on this card.
We normally don't do this, but I wanted to go match by match in this card because the whole pull of this card, the whole thing was, this is promotion versus promotion. And I feel like before we've seen promotion versus promotion hyped, and half the people on the show don't really work for either promotion, and some of the matches don't anyway. But this was a true promotion versus promotion show. Kyle Matthews defeated QT Marshall to retain the Jake the Snake Legacy title in a match Gary Lamb posted about, and just really put over. You thought a lot of this match as well.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Gary Lamb posted, this is probably his match of the year. Two professionals, and in this match. Why? I commented on that post because every match of the year candidate doesn't have to be a banger.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go out there and what I mean by that is they didn't go out there and try to we're going to go 90 miles, the whole time, and we're going to do this, and we're going to flip off of this, we're going to dive out of the ring. Nope. They literally went out there, and they knew what they were getting. This is it.
Right.
I think literally, I don't want to go that much into how the sausage is made. I'll leave that part be. But they had a match that started out here because the crowd was, believe it or not, in Canton, it was a pretty 50-50 crowd. Turnbuckle fans and Southern Honor, it was kind of split. And so QT got some cheers and Kyle got some, so it was kind of okay, they're back and forth. And so they kind of wrestled that match, and they were kind of hey, everybody's kind of getting settled in. And then QT showed, then he's a shortcut here, and it's okay.
Right.
And but so they got him. It literally was the epitome. As I said, they started this match here, and it went here, then here, then here. And they took that crowd just like you're supposed to do in professional wrestling. By the time they got the end, boom, they're reacting, and they go, and they finish. Kyle gets the submission, and the crowd goes crazy. Again, try not to get into the wrestling piece of it.
Right.
One of the highest risk looking moves was QT's handspring into the turn, into the ropes and back into the elbow. Dude, that's it. And by the way, does anybody make it look any smoother? I'm it's just he looked like he was just half trying, and he nailed it. But I would be hard pressed. I will tell you this, and this is me being partial, maybe. Probably the best match I've seen personally. And I think it is because, look at the experience in that ring. That's a ton of experience. And so I made the comment to a few people, put the match on video because that footage, oh, by the way, we discussed this on that other little special we did. It's going to be good footage of this match. And, put that on for your kids to watch because it'll show you that fan build, how they built and built and built, didn't go anything crazy, got the reaction you wanted, and everybody went home safe. So
That's right.
Yeah. It was everything it's being built to be by everybody that was there.
Is this going to be on IWTV?
That is a good question. I would have to probably ask. I'm assuming yes.
If you're watching this and you're a promoter or wrestler, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send us, because we're getting toward the end of the year. It's award season. I would love to hear from promoters, promotions, wrestlers. Hey, what do you think is the best match of the year? But you got to send me a link. Don't just tell me or say, "Hey, it's this on IWTV." Send us the link. I'm like, I want to watch some good wrestling. I want to see what others consider. Man, this is the best match. I know I got to go watch the Carly Bravo Lyndon Hale match. I know I got to watch Kyle Matthews and QT Marshall. I know there's other matches that I personally want to go back and watch, but would love to hear from all of our adoring fans of what they think is out there. Tapatpod@gmail.com. Barry Morales defeated Grayson Pierce, and what you said was just the typical Vari Morales clinic of technical skill and awesomeness.
Yeah, and it becomes a theme over the weekend of the matches I saw that Vari that was in. They never shy away from putting Vari in there with some young talents at the C. Question mark, is Vari the new measuring stick for young talent in Georgia? Seems to be the case. You're gonna find out quick what they're made of, because we always talk about how fast he is and how smooth he is or whatever. So we found out. Let's put it that way. Over the weekend, we found out.
There was someone that we mentioned a lot in the first 4 months of this show, first 4 months of this year. And I think that person has been replaced as Georgia's measuring stick by Vari Morales. I think Vari Morales is the new hot hand measuring stick.
Look, Carly Bravo's out there trying to, he's making his case for it for that position as well. But like I said, when it comes to Carly maybe maybe this is it. Carly, they're putting in positions to test those top tier talents. Who do you trust? Who's good enough that you're putting with really young talents, green talents, and saying figure out where they belong or not? Like that's two different things when you talk about measuring sticks. Is this guy ready for the next level, or does this guy have it? Period. Vari's the guy that can find that out for you. Oh, by the way, he's also the top guy too. We've already seen that everywhere. But but on the lower level, I think it takes somebody pretty special to find out if these kids have it or not.
Yes, 100%. Nathan Mowry defeated Rhino for that DWA Ultraviolent title. That was a hardcore match. Brady Booker defeated Hunter James. I want to see video of that. Lev, who had lost that gauntlet match to Fluff Man at Southern Honor and can no longer be faithful, he blamed Warden. Warden was not able to be at that show, and Warden got a little bit of revenge over Lev in this match.
We're gonna follow up. There's a follow up to this later, but yeah, he blamed Warden outright. Hey, this is his fault. Blah blah blah. There's some weirdness going on, but that would come back later to play a role in what we saw later in that show.
Joe Black successfully defended the Southern Honor heavyweight title against Elijah Drago, and after the match, Jackson Drake from North Carolina, who has been wrestling in Southern Honor and various places, challenged Joe Black for that heavyweight title, and it looks like that's where we're going to get November 8th in Canton.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and it's funny, man. I even saw, Will Huckabee made he made a little comment about he remembers seeing that look in another set of eyes when they were coming for him. And to be careful, because Huck said those eyes reminded him of Joe Black, how he looked at Huck back in the day when he was coming after him, and said, don't take this kid lightly. That's how people make mistakes. And that's how people get got when they're not paying attention.
Jackson Drake is someone that is on various radars. If you follow, and I can never remember his NXT name, but he was Jay Malachi in North Carolina. Now he just wrestled Randy Orton on NXT, and Jackson Drake's his former opponent and partner and friend there in North Carolina. And then the infantry successfully defended those Southern Honor wrestling titles, defeating Jimmy Wild and Nikki 8.
Yeah, that's probably the one match where because we were talking about two clearly distinctive, like Southern Honor. This one kind of blurs a little bit because
Yeah,
obviously the infantry they're the Southern Honor tag champions, but they're Nightmare,
yeah.
Turnbuckle, guys as well. Look, shout out. Do I do it? Was supposed to be Jack Jameson in this match. Little banged up. Where we always tell him it was never personal. It was always, hey, look, focus, rehab. So look, we wish him the best in his recovery.
100%.
Yeah, get back and get focused and story to be continued. We'll go from there, right?
Yes. And then the end of this match wasn't necessarily the end of the night. What happened after the match?
So chaos ensues. Lev comes out. You think Warden, because then Warden comes. You're like, oh, Warden's going to fight him off. But then we find out it was a ruse all along. That Warden is his brother. He is his family. And that they are now. It looks like Warden and Lev are coming after Carly Bravo and Sean Dean for those Southern Honor tag team titles. So that's kind of like, oh, so they got us a little bit earlier in the show. We tricked you guys, blah, blah, blah. Wrestling fans are stupid. That's what, that's kind of how they roll. But it's going to be unique to see Lev and Warden challenging for tag gold there in Southern Honor.
Let's chase this rabbit just for a second. You think about, let's mention some of the really, really good tag teams in Georgia. Infantry, grapplers, oh my goodness, my brain.
You got Exotic Youth, Murder
Exotic
and Joe.
Youth, Murder and Joe, the Good Hand there in action. The reason I say that is most of those teams, Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, pretty similar build, pretty similar styles. Grapplers, they're masked. Sometimes there's 20 of them. They all look alike. Lev and Warden bring something to the tag team division. Two different styles, different sizes, a little bit different personality, psychology, and that's gonna make things a lot interesting here. Oh, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of where they go from here.
Oh, definitely, and I think it's a unique opportunity. But I'm a Carly Bravo fan, so it's going to be tough to take those titles off of them as long as they want them.
You had New Legacy Pro down in Franklin, Georgia. Their biggest crowd to date. Kudos to them. They had a trick or treat fight with Xander Horick picking up the win over Lance Tucker. Also in the night, AJ Black's been trying to get his hand on Alexander Lev. Alexander Lev said, AJ Black, you got to go through my hand-picked opponent. And that was none other than Zicky Dice. That seems to be like Lev's MO. He's always going to put a gauntlet in front of somebody.
Yeah, Lev is going to make you earn an opportunity to get your hands on him. That's for sure. And so whether it's a Warden, if it's, so no matter where he goes, he surrounds himself with a lot of pieces. Kind of makes you wonder why. Right? I mean, why? Man up, kid. Fight your fights. And
it was AJ Black. I got to call this an upset. Yeah. Getting the win over Zicky Dice. That's a huge. I mean, if we listed the top 10 upsets in Georgia this year, that'd have to be on that list, right?
1,000%. Zicky Dice is think about it. This dude has been signed to national companies. So, upset's an understatement.
So now AJ Black at the next show got to wrestle Brett Buffshay. If he wins that match, he gets a shot at Lev in the main event. That is November 22nd. Make sure you check out New Legacy Pro. They do have a YouTube channel, and they have posted that I believe they've posted that entire show. I know they've got that AJ Black Zicky Dice match. And listen, that's a great way. If you're not anywhere near Franklin, Georgia, You share the stuff on social media. You like, love, you react to their posts on social media on Facebook. But then when you go and watch their stuff on YouTube, that helps a lot. Helps that algorithm and supports the show. Yep.
And I think, listen, they're they're a newer company. They're kind of building their brand. And look, obviously the crowd is going in the right direction. That's what we always talk about. It's not about just the number. It's about the trend, and they're clearly trending in a good place. But look, with guys like Zicky Dice on the card, we've talked about it. I mean, look, you've got Stunt Marshall. By the way, so Mark Davidson, you haven't seen him. You weren't at the Disruptor show, right?
Mm-mm.
So I got to see him in person at the Disruptor show, the last Disruptor show, and dude looks like $1,000,000 and can absolutely flat out go. It's early. I think he just got to Georgia, and I'm just telling people, look, go out and check him out because, dude, I think you're going to be stunned. I mean, absolutely stunned by how good he is. Aaron Dallas, Ethan Dallas, they're a new team on the scene. I mean, look, the car. I mean, they're like, look, they're bringing in, and I mean, look, bringing in, like I said, a Zicky Dice into the show. It shows commitment, and I think, maybe that's something that when we talk about these tiers, sometimes it's the commitment to saying I know there's developmental giving guys that opportunity, but you got to bring in the names to show the commitment to your roster, to show the long-term progression. And so for me, seeing some of the names on these cards, that's what I mean, New Legacy's showing that, hey, we're going all in. We're going to try to make this happen.
So kudos. Make sure you follow them and support them. Also, Friday night in Royston, Georgia, SCA. The big story here is Jonathan Feltner, the consultant, had to leave the show, had an emergency at his house, which left the director of talent relations, John the Body Johnson, in charge. And he started making some pretty major decisions. Basically said, hey, for the Monsters Ball Battle Royal coming up, the winner's going to be the number one contender for the SCA Heavyweight Championship. He also put Tower in that match. And if Tower had won, Tower's going to get a month off. However, Tower was eliminated. Drox was able to win that Monsters Ball Battle Royal, and now it's Drox who's going to be taking on Tower, who's always surrounded by Rick Page. Is Drox going to be the guy to finally end what's now at, let me see, we're at over 196 days of Tower's reign of terror. What are your thoughts? Or is Drox just going to be the next guy on the list?
Look, we've talked about it. I mean, it's Tower's an obstacle in himself. Like, that's the problem here. Tower's the problem to begin with. Then you got, we joked about it last week, Chester and Spike. I mean, you got Chester still being a problem outside, constantly meddling in things. And, so you got a problem outside. Like, how hard is it to focus on somebody the size and strength of Tower, but every now and then you got to turn you got to look over your shoulder to make sure your leg's not getting pulled on or he's not going to, there's always some shenanigans there. So I think that's the problem is we even put the guy in a cage and it became a problem. Like, what else, what has to be overcome? So until somebody figures out a way to solve the Rick Page problem, I don't know that you could overcome the Tower problem. That's probably the biggest challenge.
Yes. And Jonathan Feltner is going to be facing the challenge of coming back. And it's clear that he and John Johnson are not on the same page. One thing in SCA right now is a lot of tension, a lot of feuds. You got James Boulevard and Christian Taylor who've had their differences, had to be pulled apart by the locker room. Taylor ends up That's a young man you and I have been following. Pushes the ref, gets a DQ. So what's next for those? Uh, what's next for those? Matter of fact, John Johnson says Christian Taylor has got to get a psychological evaluation for pushing an official. So I think that's maybe a little bit of abuse of power by John Johnson. You got Luke Da Silva, Jaden Vane, who keep going back and forth. If you are in the Royston area and you are looking for what I would say old school wrestling, this is a great place to watch it. And they're like clockwork. They are every single Friday night.
Yeah. But again, follow them on social media just because we are going into the holiday season and,
Yes.
some things may bounce around a little bit. So absolutely give them a follow on Facebook specifically. I know that's usually where they post their stuff. They'll let you know whether they're running or not. So,
and they are also on YouTube. And I've watched several of their matches. The lighting's very good. Camera works very good. And the audio sounds good. And so they are going way beyond giving it the old college try. They're really putting their all into it, and you have to respect that. Saturday, Buckhead, Georgia Championship Wrestling. The aforementioned Christian Taylor picked up a win over Brandon Watley, Georgia mainstay for a really long time. So Christian Taylor kind of moving up. The two big stories I would say on this card had to do with titles.
yeah.
We mentioned the 10 upsets in Georgia this year. Number one has to be Xander Seabolt defeating Jacob Ashworth for that Georgia Heritage Championship. Now, it wasn't, as they say, a clean win, but a win's a win. And Xander Seabolt, good night. He has come out of nowhere to now holding one of the most prestigious titles in Georgia.
Yeah, if you track the roots of that title, I mean, that's the old landmark heritage title that is now the Georgia heritage title. Like it's a coup and it's a feather in the cap of Seabolt to walking around with that title. And in wrestling, it doesn't matter by hook or by crook. He does have that championship around his waist. And now, here's my challenge, though. Jacob Ashworth was all over the state defending that title. If you're going to be worthy of wearing that Georgia Heritage Championship, Xander Seabolt now has to fill that role, and he has to hit those roads and defend that title. So let's see what kind of champion he is, because following in the footsteps of Jacob Ashworth, and the champion that he was, those are big shoes to fill. So, let's see if he's going to do that.
It's every wrestler's dream goal to be a champion. But with this title's a little different. Because like you just said, everything you just said, Jacob Ashworth was a fighting, traveling champion. And now that's what faces Xander Seabolt. And the big question is he up to the challenge? Not just doing it, but of having a long, sustained title reign. And there may be a night that grappler is not going to be able to be in his corner. Can Xander Seabolt stand on his own 2 feet and add his name to that great lineage of that title? That remains to be seen. Terry Lawler, he and Sean Nelson ended up in a no contest. Neither man could answer the 10 count. And so it has been signed. Thanksgiving, Star Wars, November 30th. It will be Terry Lawler versus Sean Nelson for the Georgia Championship Wrestling, Georgia Heavyweight title in a fans bring the weapons, last man standing match. This has been going on pretty much all year between these gentlemen. And the management at GCW is clearly saying November 30th, this comes to an end.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't even, Lawler, look, we obviously know, we're super partial to Terry Lawler. We don't even hide it. We don't even pretend.
Yeah.
So my concern is, Benny Bacardi was involved in this thing. Is he still going to be involved in here? If so, I'm hoping there's a weapon that Terry Lawler can get his hands on and that he can just use all over Benny Bacardi. Just get him out. Eliminate him quick. That's all I'm going to tell you. But I just look, it's going to take I know what that title means to Terry Lawler. He's going to have to do a lot. I mean, he's going to have to damn near kill him to get that title off of him around his way. So I would not bet against Terry Lawler.
Here's the thing with Terry too. I don't think he's announced anything official, but you almost feel like it's Bryan Danielson, that when we know it's the encore presentation, we know this is going to come to an end. And I have to ask myself, if Shawn Nelson walks out with that title, is that the end for Terry Lawler?
Here's the thing. I forgot to throw this in here, and I don't even know if you know this. Shawn Nelson probably looks at Terry Lawler, and they see the rocker, the good time, out there wrestling, the old school. I'm going to put you in a time machine, and I'm going to go back probably 20 years, and I'm give or take because I'm old. Terry Lawler, and God bless, Steve Lawler, they just bloodied each other. They were just old school, brawling, hardcore. Terry Lawler's a former hardcore champion. Like Shawn Nelson may be completely underestimating Terry Lawler, thinking like, oh, it's Terry Lawler, good time and rocking guy. I don't think you know what that man is capable of digging into his roots of his pro wrestling and what he's capable of. Shawn Nelson, good luck. That's all I'm going to tell you. Good luck, because you're going to need it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he may have. Sometimes you get what you ask for, and that is not a good thing.
No.
Coastal Empire Wrestling was back in Savannah, Georgia. They had to cancel, like many promotions had to cancel the show due to the recent hurricane. Hakeem Young and Flying Fro Michael Walker fought to a double count out. And now it has been announced, again, these guys have been going back and forth for months. November 30th, they're going to face off there in Savannah in a last man standing match. We're at the time of the year where it's time to settle some scores. And so we're going to see cage matches, war games matches, last man standing matches. And I am here for it. That's what we love to see. Again, two young guys who are not just fighting for supremacy in Coastal, but for Georgia as well.
I think this match is a very pivotal and a crucial match for both of these young men for a couple of reasons.
Yes.
For Michael Walker, like, again, I think it's just kind of what I didn't imply or didn't mean to imply, kind of what I said about Terry, right? Like, when we think of Michael, the Flying Fro, it's fun, it's high fun, whatever. Is this the match where he puts the stamp of like, look, when I need to,
yes,
I can get, and I'm not saying down and dirty, but like he's got to be as tough. You should never question his toughness because of, the recent events over the months. But this match is the one where he can finally put his foot down and go, I can hang. It's crucial for Hakeem Young in the sense of this is the moment where you are trying to put your stamp on, I belong here. I'm not, he might not be the guy, but he's a guy at the table. So and when you're both got two youngsters, I think they're young compared to us, right? But I do believe this is a huge opportunity for both.
Absolutely. Young guys are always wanting an opportunity to be on the show. But when you have an opportunity to be in a position to carry an angle, to carry a show, how do you step up to that? And so that's one we'll definitely be keeping our eye on. Another huge development, Exotic Youth won a body bag match to become 3 times Coastal Empire Wrestling Tag Team Turmoil champions, defeating the team of Simon Sermon and Chip Schuyler. Again, Zach Mosley and Pepper Bottom have proven they can fight you, they can wrestle you, they can put you in a body bag. And Exotic Youth continues just to do what they do, and I would be very surprised if this title win does not propel Exotic Youth to title wins in other promotions here in the near future.
This match, and I don't know if you've caught it any, this was a unique match like in anything itself. This thing went all over. It was outside. I always kind of like borderline said, this thing is essentially was a cinematic match in the building.
Yeah.
Because they ended up outside. It was everywhere and it was chaos, no pun intended. But again, yeah, like this is a huge win when you look at who they were across the ring. Simon Sermon across the ring is a huge win. If you're not familiar with Simon Sermon, do some research for Georgia Indy Wrestling, and I promise you, yeah, you'll see. But yes, I'm with you. This completely vaults them back into the conversation of, hey, people started did people start forget? They start forgetting Exotic Youth. I don't know how you would, but right. It was kind of like when we talked about tag teams, it was like, people were trying to push other names up. And I think here's Exotic Youth going, hey, don't forget who we are. We're Exotic Youth and we belong in this, this list.
Yes. Coastal Empire Wrestling will be back November 30th. Make sure you follow them on social media, and can't wait to see this show. It'll be on their YouTube channel. Definitely want to see both those matches that we mentioned. Another promotion that is doing a lot of great things on YouTube with their formatting, their episodic stuff. Very easy to follow. That is Kraken Pro Wrestling. And this past weekend, it was, you got the business, kind of led by Justin Case. They've been running roughshod over everybody. However, this past weekend, Kevin Cantrell got the best of Jay Too Strong, made Jay tap out to the crossface in a match that really was described as magical by some in attendance. And now you have to ask the question, what does that mean for Jay Too Strong? What does that mean for the business? They're winning different opportunities, different titles. But the fans there at Tifton have been treated to some really good wrestling. South Georgia is starting to get hot.
Like you said, man, with Justin, what kind of hot water does that put Jay Too Strong and those, the members of the business, that when Justin Case returns and finds out, like, hey, I can't even leave the store without things going crazy, right? Like the old manager, like, I can't even go to lunch without coming back to a mess. I mean, I guess that's what, we're going to have to see. And it'll be, see the reaction of Justin Case. That's worth the price of admission, when you head down to the new show. And by the way, I do want to throw in, you brought up even the little things, like the little attention to details on the YouTube channel, match graphics with motion.
Yes.
You asked me about that, and I'm like, dude, it's like the coolest thing. That's TV stuff. Like, yes. Kudos, I mean, like, for paying attention to the little details. That's booking. Like, that's, the little, it's not just that too. It's the things they're trying to do. And look, kudos, tip your cap to total chaos apparently at Kraken.
Yeah.
And, and Will Huckabee just being the glue and pulling it together and making it happen. Like, sometimes everybody wants to be in charge and be the booker until they are. And so then there are guys that find out that are built for it, and there's guys that are not. And clearly to pull that thing together, tip your cap to one Will Huckabee. And by the way, reiterated, that's the guy you want to contact if you want to get on that show. It's Will Huckabee. So find him on social media, hit him up, and, if you're trying to get booked on Kraken Pro Wrestling.
And make sure if you follow them, their next show is going to be at a different venue. So if you've been thinking about checking them out, or you've been a regular fan and you're listening to this, make sure you get the new location and make sure you continue to support Kraken Pro Wrestling. Deep South Pro Wrestling ran 3 shows on Saturday, kind of like a festival event, but the big and had a huge crowd. But here's the story. This has been building for a couple of months on social media. NXT's Lexus King, aka Brian Pillman Jr. He and Skrilla have been having a war of words And Saturday night, they finally got in the ring together. And some would say the rightful winner of that match was none other than Skrilla the Great.
Look, clearly at one point in the match, Skrilla has him 1, 2, 3. The fans are counting it 1, 2, 3. Look, how special of a moment is it to know like he hung and had him 1, 2, 3. Referee's down, gets up, tries to get the referee, and then of course that's where, listen, you can't turn your back on somebody even when the ref is down, right? I've always told wrestlers, stop doing that. Just keep putting the boots to the guy. The referee will get up at some point. Like, that's my take. But the mistake's made. You don't. You go over, then bam, Lexus King hits his finish, and then he picks up the official 1, 2, 3 in the win. But I think it's pretty cool to sit there and say, like, that one Skrilla the Great hung with Lexus King. I know in wrestling there's not a lot of moral victories. I might take this one as a moral victory and just say like, hey, we're not done. Like we're gonna do this again at some point down the road.
Correct. Najicism also picked up a big win. Jacob Johnson defended his Deep South Heavyweight Championship. Again, it was a full card. Now, Deep South, I'm certain that Lexus King match we're not probably going to see footage of it, but I know they've done some Facebook Lives. But are you aware? Like, do they have YouTube where they've been posting stuff, anything like that?
Yeah, and I'm just not real sure where this match. And look, I'm going to put it out to Skrilla himself. Like, get us footage of this match. This match needs to be seen for lots of reasons. But again, everybody knows. Look, I do like Skrilla, and I mean, I'm partial to Skrilla, and I have been for a few years now. And tip my cap to the guy. Look, hard work's paying off. He's getting a lot of opportunities. So look, it's cool to see somebody noticing and appreciating it. Because folks, as much as anybody wants to say anything, sometimes that was a tremendous opportunity. Not for just Skrilla, not just for Deep South, but to be honest with you, everybody that was there in the back, in the ring, whatever. It's a tremendous opportunity. So, kudos to all the parties involved.
If you listen to our breaking news show, which if you haven't, what are you doing? Finish this. And anyway, one of the promotions listed on there was Booker T's Reality of Wrestling in Texas. We know Skrilla's made several trips down there. Now he's wrestled in NXT Talent. We know some other things happening behind the scenes. And I would say this. I would be the first to admit that I thought Skrilla had taken a step back this year. And as I am now looking at it, I was wrong. Because it appears there was a lot of things in the works that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
And that we thought Skrilla was playing checkers and he was playing chess. And kudos to him for this great opportunity. And they put on a great match. He delivered. That's
Correct.
the thing. It's one thing to get the opportunity. He also made the most of his opportunity.
Yep.
Action Wrestling on Saturday definitely made the most of their opportunity. Between Friday and Saturday, they ran 6 shows. I can't, it's some long name. It was basically a hot wings festival in Tennessee. A good friend, Ben, who helps out with Action Wrestling, got into the hot wing eating festival and immediately regretted it. I love him. He's good follow on social media. But Action, getting out there, entertaining the fans. Follow them on social media. Follow Scott Hensley. Follow Noah Tall. Follow Matt Griffin. You never know where they're going to be, but they put out great content. They put out great matches, and they put out it's just good stuff to see about independent wrestling.
Yeah, Matt does a great job. We don't look. We have our personal issues with him at times, which because sometimes the behaviors and his attitude, but he puts on a great product. I mean, Action Wrestling always delivers, and it's really cool to see them because of their connections, like sliding into the Tennessees and around and stuff. So yeah, good job. I mean, look, it's these festival things they're difficult to pull off sometimes. I only trust it with a few people that I would trust it with, and Matt Griffin's one of those people.
Well, and you're always at the mercy of the weather, and they were able to have a good weekend, and kudos for them. Sunday, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment back there in Atlanta. They had also had to cancel a show because of the hurricane, but came back with the Lucky Seven and the absolute story of the night. This was shocking. I saw this, then I went and watched the match, and still trying to wrap my head around. Carly Bravo is the new Atlanta Wrestling Crown champion. He defeated Kenway, Lev, Acid Star, Chris Crunk, Hunter Drake, and Jackie Thad in that 7-person match. You can go watch it on Facebook. Go to Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. They live stream it. You can watch it now. You guys were able to go to are you able to go to this show or no?
No. I did watch it though.
Yeah.
And just correction, sorry. It's the Georgia Wrestling Crown.
Georgia Wrestling Crown. Sorry.
So, and look, by the way, I put a post out. I mean, I'm like, people need to watch out. I said, Carly Bravo's out here collecting titles in the streets, man. He's just picking them up anywhere and everywhere he's going, which, again, not surprised. So I was kind of like, you remember that old clip that was out there, I wanted to share it, but I was like, probably not the best idea. But it was like, you better hide promotions, you better hide your titles because they're out here trying to steal them in the streets. That's Carly Bravo's coming and he's snatching titles left and right. So it's like if you're not happy with your champion, book him against Carly Bravo because he'll probably come in and take that for you and give you a respectable champion if you're not happy with your guy. So that's but yeah, look, it was wild it's what do you expect out of AWE, but wild and crazy and chaotic. But I'm not, like I said, not surprised. Carly Bravo knew the Georgia Wrestling Crown, champion. Doesn't surprise me in the least.
I don't. Yeah, this caught me off guard because I don't remember. I saw Carly Bravo announced for the show. I just didn't. It's not that I think of him as strictly a tag team wrestler. It's just didn't even cross my mind as that was a possibility. And Kenway had a really good run, was a fighting champion. I definitely don't think this is. I think Kenway is certainly one of the heart and souls of AWE. So he's definitely going to be back. That young man's got a long career ahead of him. But I'm curious what AWE has up their sleeves next. I love that they Facebook Live their shows, and that's not easy to do. That is not. It's not the tech. The things that can go wrong. The fact that the video's clear, the audio's clear. Kudos to them. And they're rebuilding. I don't want to call it a rebranding, but it's like rebranding the original brand. But they're rebuilding and bringing good wrestling back to Atlanta. Monday night we had a show. It was one of those weekends. One of those 4-day weekends, Monday Nightmares in Watkinsville, Georgia. You were able to get out for this show. Was this record time for an 8-match card?
Listen, call it, Turnbuckle, Monday Nightmares. They kind of both have something very in common, and that is, yes, they can pull off an 8-match card in about an hour, 58 minutes. I was telling somebody, you get TV matches. Why do casual fans love Monday Nightmares? Why do they love, Turnbuckle? What? Because it's very digestible, like casual TV like style wrestling.
Yes.
It's very entertaining. Do they have matches that are like really, like, oh yeah, they're great. I mean, we'll get to some of them in a minute, but look, Vari goes out there and he does his thing and on and on. But you're also going to get a 6-man with Billy Gunn and Brady Booker and Mike Cunningham, so you're going to get a 6-man that's going to entertain you as well, where they're having fun in there. It's super digestible, super fun, and like I said, top to bottom, it's that. Look, I just can't put over Monday Nightmares, Turnbuckle, etc., whatever. But Monday Nightmares specifically out there in Athens, Watkinsville. It got me to leave my house on a Monday afternoon after working. I'm like, I was in there like, do I go? Do I not? And I'm like, you better go, and you're gonna have fun. So just go. And I went and I had a great time. So,
one thing I love about the Turnbuckle Nightmare shows is, I think I judge them differently. Like Turnbuckle, I want you to throw names in a hat like bingo. I want you to spin that wheel and just draw names. Okay, you guys are wrestling. Like the thing that I typically, if it's like Southern Honor or Southern Pride, like I want to see a story. I want to see an angle. Turnbuckle, though, I'm like, man, I want to see two guys wrestle I've never seen wrestle before. Parker Lee and Christian Taylor. Michael Solar getting a win against Dennis Glass. You had Ward and JD Inc. Again, we always say it. Guy may wrestle heel one week for Turnbuckle or Nightmares, and then they're switching it up. And then you have, and you mentioned this, and I had totally forgotten about it. You got Billy Gunn in there with a young man, Mike Cunningham, who less than 10 matches in his career. And Mike Cunningham, he's got the little cowboy thing going on. And Billy Gunn reminding everybody he's Billy Gunn because he was a smoking gun.
Yeah. Man. I mean, I keep looking at the card and it's like, how did they pull this off? And it never felt long. It never felt drug out. But here's the way. A lot of it's timing, by the way. You're starting to get you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're putting the 6-man out there. Hey, send Brady Booker out there. He'll bring the crowd up.
Yes.
Don't let them get tired. They weren't tired. They were in it, dude. They were like, that's what I'm saying. You could keep a crowd solid 2 hours, no intermissions, just straight through. You could do it for 2 hours if you pace it right or whatever, and it was done very well. Crowd, like I said, you throw them out there, and then boom, you keep them rolling. I was, but how cool is it when you look at these cards? And that's another thing I love about these Monday Nightmare shows. You see guys getting opportunities to work. Like you brought up like Mike Cunningham he's in a 6-man tag with Brady Booker and Billy Gunn. Like, you want to talk about learning in the ring. What do we always say? You got to wrestle. We just talked about this a minute ago. You got to wrestle guys better than you to get better. Okay, well, if you're 10 matches or so in, that's, okay, that's probably not that difficult to be working with guys that are a little more experienced than you. But you're in a 6-man with Billy Gunn?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like, yeah, you're like having a coach literally standing there on the apron, like, help it. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. But then you look through this card and you look at like, oh, well, he's learning from him. He's learning from him. You know what I mean? Like, you could look and go, this guy's getting an opportunity. Because let's say it without saying it. When you get in a ring with somebody that's a veteran, you're also going to find out if you don't necessarily belong in there. Or you need to learn what you need to work on. I mean, lessons are taught at Monday Nightmares. And so hopefully lessons will be learned. Yes. Because I will tell you this, they have all of the right parties involved to teach you those lessons. So just be willing to learn. So
that is correct. The infantry successfully defended those Nightmare Factory tag team titles against the Superstars.
Can I tell you too, by the way, heel infantry versus babyface Superstars. Just to your point, exactly what you talked about earlier. And how smart of them, by the way, to have the ring announcer say, before I came out here, they informed me they would rather be anywhere else than here.
Wow.
Let's make it a point to, like, you see what I mean? Like, sometimes use a little something to, to let people know, Hey, because it's, by the way, they're easy to love. They're easy to cheer. So let's quickly give them a reason not to.
I want to go back to something you mentioned. You mentioned this show, no intermission. If a promotion like Southern Honor, you can go get a snack and still see the ring. Same thing with Southern Fried. Same thing with a lot of these promotions. My question to you is, could more promotions cut out their intermission and shorten their shows?
So I understand the concept of doing it for the talents to be able to sell, to sell merchandise and things like that. I always think of like, man, is there a way to do it? But you can't do it before because the guys are,
Yeah,
working stuff. Doing it after, a lot of people bail as soon as the shows are over. So my argument's always been like, and I get how difficult it is, but how about maybe bring somebody to work your table throughout the show?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a way around it because yes, the intermission thing is a challenge, or you just got to have a tight rein on it. You can't let it get away from you. Or how about you budget for that time?
Correct. Like when you're, and as someone who has formatted some shows, we were trying to be 2.5 hours, two to 2.5 hours with that 15-minute intermission. And without fail, something would always happen where we had to go 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just always hated that. Like I wanted to keep it
We've
tight.
been to a Turnbuckle show where they did an intermission and they were still done in 2 hours.
Yes. Yes.
So,
yeah. So it
can I surprise you, by the way?
No. Yes, please.
I didn't tell you this before we hit record, and we're talking about Monday Nightmares. We're talking about Turnbuckle. So I had an opportunity, and I'm going to post this on social media as well. By the way, we have the opportunity, and I literally want to freestyle it on the air with you. I have 4 front row tickets to the November 8th show in Beaufort, Georgia, at Tannery Row Ale House. I'll even throw in, we're going to give them the meet and greet as well. All inclusive.
Nice.
Family 4-pack, 4 front row tickets. Get the meet and greet with the 8x10s, the autographs, the photos, all of that stuff. I want to give them away. Like we're going to give them away. So how do we do this? Like it's real simple. If you've never been, ever,
Yes.
to one of their shows, if you've been to one of their shows farther away, but you're like, I don't know. If we covered the cost, you got 4 front row tickets and you get the meet and greet. Come eat some food, buy some merch instead. Blah, support one of the wrestlers.
That's right.
Do we have maybe tappedoutpod@gmail.com? Send your emails in, make your case, and what we'll do is we're just gonna randomly pick. I may just put all of them in a pot, and have my wife draw the name, print them out or put names on or something. Have her draw the names, and we'll announce the winners. Not this week or not next week, but the week of the show. It's November the 8th, so not this week or next week's show. We're gonna run it for 2 weeks.
Well, no, it would be. This show is not. It would be on.
You are correct. It would be next week's show. Sorry, we would announce the winners on next week's show of who won those tickets, and it'll be again family 4-pack, 4 front row seats, plus you get the meet and greet. And so tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Just send all the emails to that email, and then we will actually pick whatever, and then next week's episode we will air who the winners are to get that family 4-pack for Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, November the 8th, Tannery Row, Beaufort, Georgia. I mean, it's a blast.
I know there's multiple shows going on that night.
Yeah.
And we try to kind of spread ourselves out. I am working on getting to this show, getting to the Turnbuckle show. And so whoever wins, I should know by the end of this week if I'm able to make it or not. Would love to meet you. Would love to talk with you, get a picture of you, and really hoping, just email us and tell us why you want to go to the show. If you've never been to a wrestling show, this is the perfect show to go to because you can take your kid. It's family friendly.
Very.
Uh, yeah, it's really great. And so let us know. And man, that's a great prize to give away
And
right there.
pause. When we record tomorrow for the Tapped Out Wrestling podcast, I'm going to come up with something different. I'm going to give another set away.
Oh wow!
I'm going to give a second set of a family 4-pack away. May not be front row. Let me maybe reach out to the powers that be. But I'm gonna throw it. We're gonna do another 4-pack.
Nice.
And I'll get the meet and greets. I'll get the meet and greets thrown in as well.
All right, I'm looking. Okay, here we go. This is who you got. The normal. It's Preston Vance, who is from AEW.
Mm-hmm.
He is the VIP meet and greet. This is a young man. I believe he's from. I want to say he's from Georgia.
He was here. Yeah, he was one of the original, One Fall Nightmare Factory, trade, but he's gone on. He was, Dark Order, all of those things. Yeah, so he's an AEW original guy. He's been there since early on.
Yes.
So absolutely an opportunity. And by the way, one of the, I don't know, where he stands on his character right now, that's, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
He's absolutely one of the nicest guys you'll meet in pro wrestling. Very, 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 very good dude. So absolutely, like I said. But look, we're talking the tickets, the meet and greet, all, for tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I'm going to come up with another creative way, something different to do, the one we air tomorrow. I think I know what I want to do because I had a conversation with somebody about a potential way to do it. So we will see. But that's kind of, I think I'm going to do that one. So check out tomorrow's episode as well, and you'll see how we're going to give away the other four. If you want to increase your chances to win, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, and then tune in on the Tapped Out Wrestling podcast this week where we'll announce how we're going to give away another set of 4 as well.
And if you were a member at anything, you'd get it early, and then you'd have a chance to enter early and enter as often as you like. Speaking, when you're entering something, and you just mentioned we're going to pick a winner, and now we're going to pick our winner for who won the week. You had kind of put this in the show notes. You got no argument for me. To me, this is a no-brainer. And the gentleman who won the week was none other than Carly Bravo. 3 matches over the weekend. Friday, Sunday, Monday. So 3 matches. They're all title matches. Friday night, they retained the Southern Honor Tag Team titles. Sunday, he wins that AWE Georgia Wrestling Crown title. And then Monday night, retained the Nightmare Factory Tag Team titles. No one had as good a weekend as Carly Bravo.
Collecting belts. That's what we said. He's collecting them titles, and he's keeping them. On top of that, by the way. So it's there it wasn't even close for me. I know there's, if you make a case, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, you can send in who you thought. It's you could try to debate it. I just didn't think there was a clear winner. Clear anybody any higher.
Right.
When you retain 2 of your titles and you win a third. That's the case easily made for my taste.
Tag team champion in 2 promotion, and now singles champion in a promotion. He's proven he can do it with Shawn Dean, without Shawn Dean, and showing no signs of slowing down. I typically say that I don't look for signed talents to be eligible or whatever for year-end awards. But this second half of 2024, boy, Carly Bravo is he's shaking things up and making himself known for sure.
Here's the thing. Here's my only debate to that. I agree. Because we've always said, like, hey, Cruel doesn't apply because
Correct.
he's a national talent. But here's my question: Carly Bravo's strolling up in here and wrestling more matches in Georgia than some guys that we're considering for being these awards. Look, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not saying they matter to him or he wants them or care, but I'm sure he'd appreciate them. But when we're making cases, I mean, if you're going to give it to a guy who's wrestled less matches than the guy that you say isn't eligible, make that make sense to me.
Carly Bravo, 3 title matches this weekend, which is more than some heavyweight champions in some promotions wrestle in a year. I mean, almost as much. I just think, one thing that's happened this year, I hope, is that promotions are realizing if you really want to keep up, if you really want to stay in the conversation, you got to up your game, and it's quantity and quality. I think that's the name of the game now.
Because the argument used to be, oh, we don't run as many, but we're better. Or it used to be, hey, we run a lot more. That's why it's hard to be as good. And there's some truth to that. It is hard to book 52, 24, blah, 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 insert number of shows. It is difficult. Okay, well, what do you do when somebody's doing both? Are they clearing heads above the rest? So I think we discussed this early in the year. There were new people coming involved, whether it was Bullpen, whether it was Turnbuckle, whether it was Phoenix, whether, look, we roll into next year, next level. I mean, there's going to be the constant influx of pushing, guys coming in and pushing the bar. That's it. Like, you can't just be, that old saying it's true. If you're not getting any better, you're getting worse. Because everybody's trying to be better than you, and if they make that, they're going to go right past you. And that is a very slippery slope to be on, if you're trying to argue, hey, we're one of the top tiers, hey, we're the best, hey, we're one of the best, blah, 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 whatever you're throwing out there. Like, hey, there's actually kind of being there's some pretty stiff competition out there right now.
That's absolutely right. Fans, let me remind you, if you have not listened to our breaking news where we broke down the WWE independent development announcement that was made, Indy development, WWE ID. If you have not checked that out, make sure you check that out. And I'm interested to see that news just broke this morning. But if you want to catch it all, patreon.com/tappedOutPod. TappedOutPod.com takes you right to the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up. If you'd hit that notification, you would have got a notification that we put out a video this morning before we even recorded this. But I'm very curious to see over the next week, as more comes out about this deal, as we hear more about the other, the promotions involved.
And we would love to know, by the way, what do you think? I mean, since we've recorded that, I've gotten messages both ways. Some about how great it is, some about how it probably doesn't going to mean anything. It doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
I was like, okay,
right.
It's a take. I mean, we'll see, right? And it's not all incorrect, by the way. Opinion all at this point. But tappedoutpod@gmail.com. What do you think happens? How does this help, hurt? Does it mean anything for the Indies? Tappedoutpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, it's listen, it makes our job a lot more interesting. And remember, fans, there's only one place. The Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network is where you get all the news. You get what's already happened, and you get what's coming up ahead between the Tapped In Indie Show and the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. So thanks for listening this week. For Nick McDaniel, this is Heath Mulligan, and we will see you at the matches.